Welcome back to the Red Bill Performance channel. Hey, where y'all been? Lollygagging around? Having a party? Getting cold snacks? Well, while y'all been out fiddle farting around, I've been partying in here, just having a good old time. And as you can see, I've went through all the engines now. Got stuff reorganized, got stuff cleaned up. This is the 99, the one that we determined was our best candidate for what we need to do here. And now that I have it tore down, it is indeed our best candidate. Got all the pit. I mean, it's completely tore down. I mean, as you can tell, pistons out of it, cams out of it, everything out of it. Cam bearings look good, which they're still going to get replaced, but the cam looks good. It's got typical, roller type wear, just has a little, just has imprint in it. Like there's not actually any wear on it. All the bearings through the whole thing look good. I mean, as you can see, you're starting to get some of that copperish, brassy, bronzy color. All the bearings are starting to, get worn to that back layer of the bearing material. So this engine was ready for a rebuild anyway, even if it was still on the road. So, I mean, it's at that point anyway, at least new bearings. But as we covered before, all the cylinders look wonderful. They still got mild cross-hatching left in them, but better than our other two candidates. And plus, there's no nicks in none of the cylinders, so none of these cylinders will need bored. A good, quick hone through it will take care of any of that problem. When I put it back together and I put it in the truck, there's no surprises. Hopefully this time we put it together and she stays together for a little bit longer than just the tuning process. Anyway, I digress. I said bearings are good, pistons are good, and I already had out the fun bits, doing some measuring here and there. I've checked a few of the cylinders, just running my bore gauge through them, and everything's looking good. I mean, they all got a little egg to them, which is common. I mean, especially with mileage, everything's going to get a little this and a little that to it. Our front to back on number one is, it's actually, because the bore on this is 4.11 inches. All right, that's what the bore is. And on the front to back measurement, whenever, you take your bore gauge and you stick her in here and you rock her front to back, it actually measures undersize just a little bit. And then the top to bottom measurement, which is this one, whenever you go down there, it's a little oversized. So it does have some egg to it. And like I said, the front to back, it's what is it? It's 5/10,000ths under, and the top to bottom, from top to bottom, and I'm doing an average here, and it varies. And, but it varies to the point where, 4.11 is our cylinder bore. It is what it is. It varies just enough. But anyway, on the top to bottom, it varies right at 6/10,000ths. Like I said, varies. That's the average, the middle of the road. And they do have a taper from top to bottom. They're tighter at the bottom than they are at the top. Yet again, very common, especially for an engine that looks to have as many miles on it as this one does. Very, very common. Now the spec for the outer round that I found, that I managed to dig up online, because it's not in my manual. I've had a newer Haynes manual, and it ain't got that spec in it. But the outer round spec is 2/10,000ths. 2/10. Ugh, man, you get down to these numbers, get me all tongue tied. And we are 11/10,000ths out of spec on the outer round. The spec is no more than 2/10,000ths out of round. Difference between, this measurement and that measurement. And we're 11/10,000ths. It says no more than 2. And yeah, the entire block checks, like I said, the entire block checks out. All my measurements check out. And the only reason I was writing down in my little notepad here instead of, filling out my engine build sheets is because this is what is going to go with the engine as it's getting final assembly. Like as I'm doing final assembly, I'm gonna, every cylinder, every piston ring measurement, everything for every cylinder is gonna be documented. I mean, we're gonna have the main bearing, I mean, everything. And I just go online and find these. Sometimes every one I get's different, but I found this one and I like it because it just covers so many things. So I'll probably stick with this one. And this is how to build max performance for Mopar big blocks. And pretty comprehensive, I like it. So, which I mean, I ain't gonna be able to do none of the intake or exhaust flow rates because, you know, I don't have a flow bench. So I can't do that. But most of these we can take care of. So right now, I just gotta go get on the phone and on the interwebs, and I gotta start ordering parts now because I've done all the verifying I need to do. This block is actually a good block, ready to rock and roll. So I just need to get the parts here so we can get the little stuff done that I can't do, that's out of my hands for the machine shop. And then we can bring it here and do final assembly and finally get that project back on the road. I'll pick back up with y'all. Not exactly sure when, so I'm not gonna lie to you, but pick back up with y'all here just a second. I don't know if we'll be doing a parts, probably for a parts unboxing. Yeah, that's it. We'll probably be back for that once all the parts show up. Stay tuned. Where did we leave off? Man, I just can't remember these days. Well, I guess it don't matter where we left off because we are where we are right now. So, done some measuring. You know, and this is that 99 block that we discussed. Done some measuring, done some of this, done some of that. Cylinders look great. Got all the rods separated from the pistones. And I still got them in order. That's rod 1 through 8, and that's piston 1 through 8. All the wrist pins are in order. Everything is still in order the exact same way that it come out of this engine until all the parts show up and we know for certain what new parts are going in and what new parts aren't going in. And that's the reason why I said pistons are cleaned up, because after considerable consideration, that doesn't sound right, but we're going to use it. After considerable consideration and talking to several people and discussing things, thinking things out, mainly looking at the bank account, we have decided to just reuse the factory 99 pistons, because people have told me, and the bank account told me, that there's the benefit of the aftermarket pistons isn't worth the money spent to get them. Like, the percentage of goodness or betterness that they are isn't worth the amount it costs to get them here. So we're not doing that. We're just gonna, and you know, like I said, I called people, and it wasn't just me. I called people, I did some talking, did this, did that, and it was pretty much unanimous from everybody I talked to. Like, man, look, unless you're buying some billet slugs for this thing, it ain't worth it. If your factory pistons are good, you know, if they ain't got no cracks, ain't got no marks, if you know, if they look good, then you know, use them. You know, so clean them up, pop them back in there, you're ready to rock and roll. So that's what we're doing here. And you know, here's number 1 piston. This is it, all cleaned up. You know, I didn't get in here and try and clean the bowls out because that's a rolled lip and just, it don't matter. Like, I didn't even need to clean up the tops of them. Like, I just did that for me, you know. It's shiny, scary. But, you know, I got in here, I polished them, you know. Oh, I see a little more carbon in there. Yeah, and I'll probably even do a little bit more. I'll probably go back over some of them, you know, do more inspection. You know, there's still some carbon in here that needs to come out. But yeah, you know, you take your, I got the little brother to this pocket screwdriver, which means it's even a smaller one. You just get in here, spend some time in the parts washer. And if you ain't got a parts washer, you don't have to. You know, any kind of solvent will break this stuff down. But you know, you just get in there, do a little scraping, it breaks loose the carbon. You know, you don't want to get aggressive because these are aluminum. You don't want to, dig into the aluminum, which this top one here has a steel insert in it. So that one you're good. You can go to town, really getting after it. But yeah, I mean, it just takes a little bit of elbow work and a little bit of patience, and you can get them all clean. And like I said, you just do it. And then I just ran a very soft wire brush over top of them just to knock that carbon flake off of them. And yeah, I mean, they're beautiful. Didn't do anything that would scratch them. Like, I mean, they still have all the factory machining marks in them. Like, like I said, as long as you have patience and you take your time, it's easy to clean up the pistons and you'll get them back to like new. But it is extremely important to clean the carbon out of all these. See, that one I really need to go, wow, man, I was having, some of these got cleaned the other day and some of them just got cleaned today. So yeah, I need to go back over that one. So I'll probably end up going back over those again because on second look, I didn't do a very good job. But it is very important to clean out any of the ring lands in these, because you don't want your piston rings getting stuck or not being able to, you don't want them to be able to move. You want them, because they spin in there. I mean, yeah, we all clock them however we want to clock them when we put them in the cylinders, and honestly, none of that really matters because they spin. They spin in the cylinders just like flat tappet lifters, just like push rods, like they spin. So no matter where you put them, like you could mark on the piston where you put them, start the engine up, run it for a few hours, pull it out. They're not going to be where you left them. And that's good. They're supposed to. They're supposed to wander. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be free moving. That's how they seal. That's how they do piston ring things. So yeah, make sure you clean out your ring grooves and your pistons real good so they can do their job of making you happy and sealing up your engine. But yeah, that sums up the pistons. The pistons are done. We do have rods ordered. They should be here whenever they get. I mean, some boxes have already showed up. I'm not gonna worry about opening it until I actually get confirmation that all my stuff has arrived, and then we'll do a parts unboxing all at one time. But like I said, the pistons part and the rod part is covered. Reason factory pistons, got new rods coming. Might already be here. I need to check emails, or they might still be shipping in process. And really the only thing that has came up that said I might not get it, or I might have to really do some scrounging to get a hold of, is cam bearings, which the cam bearings that are in this engine look fantastic. I need to measure them and see how far they're at. But when the cam was in there, there was absolutely no movement at all. So I'm going to say that the cam bearings in these are probably still in spec. But I still want new ones. I mean, it's getting all new bearings, so I still want new cam bearings. But anyway, I digress. If cam bearings show up, they show up. If they don't, then, we'll make it work. We will do a workaround. We'll get this going. But anyway, outside of that, I got all the main caps off. I've done inspected all the journals. I went over all the bearings, and it still has factory original bearings. They're not undersized. They're not, like unmarked Chinese bearings where someone else got in here. And like I said, all the journals, everything is smooth. Everything is good. No lines and nothing. It does have a little bit more of that like surface scratching, like microscopic, like almost looks like machine scratches in these journals than our other crank. But this one does have double mileage on it. So it makes sense that, it has a little more wear. But it's, at least to the touch of skin, it's perfectly smooth, and it's just something that you can see. And, all the bearings looked decent for the mains. All the rod bearings looked perfect. Rod bearings didn't have no deep galleries in them, nothing. The rod bearings were immaculate for a 300,000 mile engine. And, all the main bearings look fairly good. I mean, they've got, and this is the cap side, so this is going to have more wear because, the crankshaft is always trying to come out of the bottom of the engine. And, these 5 caps here with these bearings of, an inch wide, this is all that keeps that in there. Like, that's it. When you're making a, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque at 3,000 RPMs, chooching. This right here is the only thing keeping that crank in. There's nothing else. If you remove this, said crank is coming out. So they have their hands full. And you know, it's always surprised me on a lot of stuff at just how small they will have their main bearings. It just does. It amazes me at just how small your mains are and what they hold in. Because I mean, the rod bearings, while they're smaller in diameter, they're pretty much this wide. They're not much narrower than this. So yeah, good on them. Anyway, I digress yet again. They look good. I mean, you're starting to get into the backing here on them a little bit, which, you know, 300,000 miles, that happens. You know, ain't no big deal. It does kind of have an angled wear to it a little bit, but, you know, like I said, the journal looks good, so that just might just be how this bearing wore. You know, this part of the bearing and this part of the bearing might have been high points in the bearing itself, and that's just how it wore. It's hard to say. But I mean, you know, I'm gonna measure things. Whenever new bearings get here, we're gonna double check things. But these are main bearings, and not only can I tell that by the markings that are on them. You know, there's no spot that says standard, because factory bearings usually don't say standard or oversized or undersized or any of that stuff. A factory bearing normally has, you know, part numbers and, you know, factory numbers from where, you know, their batch numbers. They usually never say that they're standard or oversized or undersized or anything of that nature. And these don't have none of that. Plus, the indention in the cap from where the bearing has been on here for so long, where the part numbers and batch numbers are actually embedded in the main cap, identically match the bearings that are in it, which leads me to know that these are the only bearings that have ever been in these caps. So while somebody might have been into the bottom end of this before, they didn't change anything while they were in here. Now, like I said, that being said, that just verifies to me that it has original bearings in it. I'm still gonna, of course, do measurements, you know, double check things, and once it goes together, we are going to plastic gauge it. And before I hear anybody throw a fit about plastic gauge, and you know, you have your naysayers on both sides and your people that say yes on the other side. Even the Haynes manual tells you to use plastic gauge. Like, it tells you to, you know, refer to your machine shop and this and that, and use proper dials and such things of that manner. But it also says double check your stuff with plastic gauge. Like, plastic gauge has been used for a long time, professional and otherwise. And you know, it's developed people that hate it. You know, some people hate it, some people love it. But it is a useful tool, and I will stand by it. You know, it is not exact, and no one has ever claimed plastic gauge to be exact. But it will get you within a thousandth. It will let you know, at least if you were in the ballpark of right. So it is handy for that, especially if you're balling on a budget. You know, not everybody has all the stuff to do all the stuff. So we don't hate on plastic gauge around here. We use it along with everything else that we have in front of us. And that being said, I've got I'm gonna wipe my hands off because I want to make sure they're clean. I don't want to scratch nothing up myself. But we're gonna get this crank pulled out and wrapped up and off to the side so it's safe until we get ready to put it back in. We're gonna get it out of the block, get it wrapped up off to the side so we can get the block dressed up and we don't have to worry about getting stuff on the crank, and then we don't have to worry about cleaning the crank later. I mean, obviously we will flush out all the ports in it later. We will give it a wipe down and some fresh assembly lube on it when it goes back in here so it's mint. But there's no sense in leaving it in here while we do any honing or cleaning of the block and just getting it saturated in stuff that it doesn't need to be. You know, it just, there's no reason to leave it right here to get completely covered in debris and possibly getting debris inside all the oil galleys for no reason. Like there's no point in it. And plus, damn, that thing right there weighs a good 100 pounds. Like, I don't know how much it weighs, but that crank is heavy. So it'll just make my life in general easier with it out. So we're gonna get that out so we can continue on with our block work. And now, I hear you ask, well, why do you got the engine on its side like this? Shouldn't you have it up? I mean, what if the crank falls out? For one, that crank ain't gonna just hop out. That crank is quite happy where it's at. It's not just gonna lunge out at you. And two, that crank is heavy, all right? And as one man doing this job, it is so much easier to get it out this way than it is to try and come up over top of it and just lift her straight up and out, keeping your journals away from everything. You don't want no scratches, no nicks, no nothing. You know, getting the weights up out of the engine. It is just so much easier to just kind of cock her sideways and bring her on out. All right, that's a little less, that's a little tip for y'all. And also another tip, get your weights turned sideways, because majority of the weights on this crank anyway are right here. You got this set of weights and you got this set of weights, and they kind of oppose each other. So you get them like this, and then you ain't got nothing real deep in the engine. You're kind of even Stevens and out as far as you can be out. So, all right, that being said, let's see if I can get this out without throwing out my back or dropping it in the floor. Oh boy. Oh yeah. Yep, nope, she's light, don't worry about it. Only weighs like 5 pounds. Yep, oh, yep, there it goes. There goes my back, there on the finger too. Ouchie, that's my finger already smashed too. And don't worry about the crank laying on its side. I know, for one, that dowel pin back there is almost impossible to get out. And two, if that thing warps under its own weight, considering the fact that it weighs 500,000 pounds and has like 4-inch journals in it, well then we're doomed anyway. I mean, how's that thing supposed to handle 1,000 foot-pounds of torque if it can't handle itself? Exactly, it can handle itself. All right, now if we was to pick it up and drop it from, like, you know, waist high or shoulder high, yeah, it would probably, things would probably happen. But, you know, we handle it with care. We love our crank. Anywho, I'm gonna get my bag over here. I'm gonna get it in there, and we're gonna party. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. One wrapped up crank. Now I just gotta get everyone else to stay away from it. Stay away, I said. Yeah. Now, here's our beautiful engine. We're gonna start getting cleaned up and prepped. And I wanna get in here and, you know, get some more brushes and stuff in here on the block and some more cleaner. Cause I wanna really clean up the block, cause I mean, I know it's completely out of character for me. I think I'm actually gonna paint this one. I mean, we'll see. Might not happen. Might just be wishful thinking. But we might paint this one. So I wanna get in here and get all the crud off that, like, the pressure washer didn't get, cause there's still plenty of it, I assure you. And then we'll get our surface, you know, our mating surfaces cleaned up. You know, we'll get her polished. We're gonna do it right. And then, you know, I'll get us a bucket of soapy water and a bunch of brushes. And we'll go to town just cleaning everything, just getting her as polished as we can. And then give her a little spritzing. And then it'll be sitting and waiting until we get all the parts that are necessary. All right. And first step, I want to get these out of the block. These alignment pins for the heads, these dowels, whatever you want to call them. Which this side still has both. This side only has one, and I don't know if that one was never in here, wasn't paying that close attention, or if it come out with one of the other heads. I'm not sure, but it's supposed to have one on both these holes right here, whether they stay in the block or they come out in the head. And I'm gonna show y'all my way of getting them out without damaging them, so you don't have to worry about getting new ones, because these things do just crinkle under pressure. And this one here's already got a little dent in it. I don't know if I'm responsible for that or Not more than likely I am. I always am. But this is the way I do it. I like to take a socket that fits in them perfectly. Now this in here is probably going to be a little tricky to get in because, well, it's obviously oblonged. It has taken a whacking that it didn't like. So let's see here. And it's not absolutely important that I perfectly save these because I do have extras. You know, I got the 4 right there out of the other engine block that is, you know, trash. But, you know, say in your situation, you didn't have spares and you didn't really feel like going online and finding them or, you know, paying for that part because you don't have to. It's a reusable part. It's good to get them out. And then that way you can properly clean up around them to ensure you get the best seal. Anyway, like I said, I like to take a socket, and it don't matter if it's an impact socket or a chrome socket. It don't matter. You just want whatever fits tight. Ow! That hurt. You want whatever fits tightly into it. Now, like I said, this in here's got some damage, so it doesn't want the socket. But there you go. See a little bit of love tap. She fits in there tight. And that's what you want. You want a tight fit so that way it can't deform. Then you want a good set of pliers. They don't have to be vice grips, but you want a good set with hardened teeth, you know, teeth that will actually bite it and, you know, fairly sharp. I mean, these pliers have got a couple miles on them. And you don't have to go all gorilla strength tight on it. So you just, it's not overly tight, and then you just give her a few little turkey twerks. And then it'll walk right out, and see that socket there? Baby, come back! Now, things always go wrong when you're doing it on camera. Anyway, that socket there, perfectly preserved your dowel. And this one here has a few little teeth marks on it, but they're superficial. There's nothing to worry about. They won't hurt nothing. I mean, every one of these was took out with that same method. And these here didn't even leave tooth marks. And it's like, that one there is made out of something softer. So, and that's how I get them out. It works for me. I've had pretty good success at doing it that way. Let's see. Yeah, see, look at that. These here ain't got any damage. Look at that. That right there you don't even need pliers for, which it was barely in there. See the socket. The socket is your best friend. See if I can get this one out too. Get them down in there all the way. Oh yeah, look at that, see? Sometimes you don't even need pliers. You just pop it right out. All right, and now I'm going to clean up the block surface. And this right here is my preferred tool for cleaning up the block to head surface, and really any of the surfaces on any of these cast irons and aluminum, because these little, I think they're silicone or silicone based. Anyway, these little brushes are actually meant for aluminum cleanup. So they're really soft, you can bend them around. So they're not as aggressive as other means. So they're really, really good at doing this job. And I mean, honestly, a wire wheel will do this great. I just prefer these over a wire wheel, especially if the engine was together. Because as we all know, the wire wheels, as you're using them, you start losing wires. And if you're working on an engine, the last thing you want is just random hardened wires shot down, like falling beside the piston, getting in between the piston and the cylinder wall at the top ring, or going down the lifter body or down to where the cam's at, or say you're in the bottom end, like, you know, getting in the bottom end. Like, you don't want a bunch of those metal wires everywhere. So that's why I like these better. Now, am I saying that this material getting scattered in there is any better? I don't know. There's arguments everywhere. I think it's less chance of destruction with it. Plus, I've took one of these and cleaned up several engines on one of these and been perfectly fine. Like, never, like, it'll last forever if you're not overspeeding it and you're not like bearing down, because these will cut into the metal if you just sit there and hog on it. But if you're just lightly going over it, one of these discs will last you a long time, like a long time. Like I just ate up my last one because I think I was actually like in here like cleaning up some hard edges and like getting rust and scale off some stuff, and that's how I ate up my last one, because I actually had it on some rough stuff. But if you're on a smooth area, these things here will last forever. It'll take you forever to eat them down. So to me, this is the best thing. Like I love, this is what I like using to clean up my mating surfaces. So I'm gonna dive in here, get all my mating surfaces cleaned up, and then I'll probably start breaking out the wire brushes and stuff of that manner so I can clean up the rest of the block and, you know, potentially have it paint prepped, you know. We'll see. Ladies and gents, I'm gonna double check. I need to go look at something. Aggravation. Ladies and gents, boys and girls, children of all ages, I did it again. I don't know how I'm doing it, why I'm doing it. I don't even know what's going on. Like, I really don't. I just did an entire session of, you know, had out my little measuring devices, like checking the lifter bore, getting the right size hone for said lifter bore so we could do the lifters. Showed y'all how, you know, I'm going to do the honing process here. I mean, I showed you reading the micrometer, like everything. Like, had a whole thing. Apparently, I didn't hit record. I thought I did. Could swear I did. I even remember looking at the camera saying, oh, yeah, it's recording. Popping it back on my head. Literally just lost all of it. Like, I mean, didn't lose it, just didn't record it. Because I went back over, because I did the one cylinder showing you how I do the cylinder, how I hone the cylinder. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna knock out the rest of the cylinders. I'll pick up with y'all when I start doing the lifters. Took the camera, set it down, you know, hit the button to stop recording. I went over to get the camera. When I picked it up, it was recording. And I got to looking at it and going through it, and sure enough, it sit there and recorded at a distance of me sitting here going to town, honing all the cylinders and this and that, which, you know, I might use that as a time lapse. I don't know. Maybe not. Depends on the length of the video. I can't use any of the audio in it because I had the radio, like I actually had music playing. So I can't use any of the audio from it. So, and I mean, it's a terrible camera angle anyway, but I can't use any of that as far as audio goes, because like I said, there's music playing, and you know, it just, YouTube will have a heyday with that. But I'm just going to pick a cylinder, which is this in here, because I mean, I'm just running the hone through them, and I'm going to re-show you on this cylinder how I go about my honing process, and then we can dive into the lifters. You know, I'll do one lifter with y'all, and as normal, I'll do the rest off camera, and then after that, I'll come back with y'all as I'm ready to clean the block. But anyway, and that's why we're back here in the middle of the floor, because it makes, you know, just an awful mess. You know, you're slinging lubricants and just everything, just nastiness everywhere. So that's why I'm back here in the middle of the shop, away from everything. So I'm not, the only thing I'm coating is myself, the engine, and the floor, and fluids. But I'm gonna put this down over here. That's cylinder number 2. I'm just gonna start with this one because that's the last side I did. I'm already sitting over here. We're just gonna grab this one and go through the process. All right, I'm gonna throw that one in the rag pile. All right, you want a clean rag because you don't want to contaminate your cylinder. You don't want to have anything in there that might scratch it. Now, this is what you'd do if you hadn't done anything. Like if you were just starting out your honing. Well, this is what I do. What you do is up to you. I take a little bit of my honing oil, which is this. I've normally always just used WD-40 when I'm honing. Like I just spritz cylinder WD-40, spritz the hone WD-40, go to town. Always had great success. But BRM, the ones that make all of my hones that I have, they recommend either their hone oil or a 1030 weight motor oil. That's what they recommend you use. And like I said, even using their products, I've always used WD-40, but I ordered a kit that come with a bunch of these small brushes, and it come with this hone oil, so I'm just using it because it come with it. You know, if they give you something, use it. You know, why not? But this is how I go about it. First thing you do is you wipe out the cylinder to make sure there's no contaminants in it, and you want a sheen of oil already on the cylinder to help with the honing process. So I just kind of, you know, I just like to do a quick little sweep of oil there, throw my rag in, and then I just do full rotation to make sure I'm getting the oil all over it, make sure I'm wiping out any contaminants that may be in it. Like that, nice and shiny, it's clean. Oh, there is something right there, boom, see it's out of there. Cylinder is clean after a visual inspection. Then I'll take my drill, and I set it on the low speed. And for a DeWalt, I set it on number 1. I got the clutch in drill mode because I don't want it slipping, which it normally shouldn't. If your hone is appropriately sized for your cylinder, there shouldn't be that much drag. I just kind of give her a spin, give her a little wet with some WD-40, throw off the excess. I will put another little dab of oil in there, and then you go in spinning and you come out spinning. And I just go full throttle on speed 1. And then you just want nice, steady strokes. You don't want to overextend and you don't want to pull out. Just nice, steady strokes. I do it anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute. Just trying to keep my rhythm nice and steady. Nothing too fancy, nothing too aggressive. Then you just pull out. And then I'll take my rag and I will commence to getting the cylinder wiped out yet again. And you gotta switch sides of your rag because the hone does make a mess. Do-do-do-do. And honing is a messy job, so if anybody thinks it's a clean job, you're 110%, you ain't doing it right. If you ain't making a mess, you ain't doing it right. I ain't seen or figured out any other way to do it. All right, cleaned up, and most of that material you see there is not metal. Like, there is some metal from where it's doing the polishing, but most of that material color is the hone itself. All right, that's why you have to buy hones. They don't last a lifetime. They wear out. But I need my light. And I even took the camera off my head and was shining around the cylinder for y'all, and still didn't realize that it wasn't recording. I swear I think it might just be doing something weird. Let's see, verify that it is recording. Yes, it is. All right, now see, and then there you go. We got a nice honed cylinder. I don't know how well my camera can pick up the cross hatching, but it is beautiful from my point of view. I am happy with it. Yep, that one looks good. That cylinder looks wonderful. And that is essentially, and that is how I did all the other cylinders. You know, not overcomplicated, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You just do that, 7 more times and you got your V8 done. If you got more or less cylinders, whatever, Bob's your uncle. Now, the lifters is the exact same process, which this one's deep set and it's shrouded because it's a 7.3, like the lifters are covered up, I wish I had a small block Chevy or something just chilling out around here, but normally their lifter valley is easier to get into. Like you can actually get in there, and it's easier to make sure that they're cleaned out. But you know, it's the same process that we did with the cylinders. I'm gonna get in here and I'm gonna clean out each lifter bore as I do them. You don't pre-clean and then just whack them all. You know, you don't do it with the cylinders, you don't do it with the lifters. You clean it, do it, clean it, do it, clean it, do it, clean it, do it. Every hole, you know, take these steps. It's how you do it. It's the best way to do it, I believe. Because once you're sitting here doing this, you're slinging stuff out and you're slinging stuff over the other cylinder, and you don't want, you know, if a chunk broke off of your hone or something, you don't want pieces of it laying over in the next hole and maybe potentially adding, you know, a deep scratch or something that you don't want in it. I mean, these are all far-fetched ideas, I know, but if you're trying to do something right, you take your time and you do it as clean as you can. Now, that being said, I'm not really going to go deep into the lifters because they're exactly the same, and plus you can't really see them on this engine. Like, I can't get y'all in there to see them real well, but it's the exact same as a cylinder. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to wipe out the hole, I'm going to put the lube in it, and I'm going to pre-lube the hone. I'm going to throw the hone in there, run it the same way, and then I'm out. I'm done, and I'm going to go on to the next holes and do it 16 times. So, you know, Bob's your uncle and Carol's your aunt. So I'm gonna get the lifters done now, and when I'm done with the lifters, we'll be ready to actually clean the block, and I'll pick back up with y'all then. The engine's ready for cleaning, but we're not gonna clean it right meow. Because I decided to attack the heads. And I've got this one almost tore down as far as the valves go. So I want to get all the valves out because I can't remember. I'm almost positive I ordered valve springs, you know, new valve springs. And we'll figure that out once we start, you know, diving into boxes. Can't remember if I just thought about it or actually did it. But either way, I am putting valve seals on here. At least I think I am. I've never done valve seals on these, so you never know. I might not be able to get them off. It might just turn into a terrible mess. But the engine gasket kit, which is over there in those boxes, it's supposed to have valve seals in it, so I want to put new valve seals in it. Plus, I'm going to do injector cups on this, so as soon as we get all the valves out, I'm going to get my little injector cup tool, and we're going to yank all these injector cups out. And then we'll pull all the plugs out up here, and, you know, while we have the head tore down, it makes sense to wash them too. Scrub them, clean them up, get anything, you know, out of them that may be in them, any contaminants, anything like that. And then I can start going the other way with the heads. I can put new cups in them, put the seals on them, blah, 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 blah. You know, put the valves back in them. If I got valve springs, put new springs on them. You know, et cetera, et cetera. And then the heads will be clean and ready to rock and roll. And block will be clean and ready to rock and roll. And then it's just, you know, it's all up from there. So I just want to share this one valve with y'all because it's exactly the same for the rest of them. You just, this nifty little I can't even read that, that just says patent pending. This nifty little valve spring tool that I got from Riff Raff, and you know, this thing is glorious. It makes the job really, really easy. You just hit that on there and you just pretty much just line this little plate here up with your valve spring, you know, center it up with it. Then you just, they probably don't want you using an impact, but I try to not let it impact, so it just gets down there to that point. And I got it lubed, a lot of lube. And then the, oh Lord, the keepers, the valve keepers, they get a little stuck, so you just tap them. You're not like beating the valve, you just give it a little tap to break their seat loose. One typically falls out. The other one, you just whop a magnet in there, it comes out. There you go. Got the keepers, retainers, whatever you want to call them. And then you just back off your tool. Like I said, nice little thing. It's only 200 bucks, which, I mean, you know, kind of expensive, but kind of not when you look at it. I mean, it's anodized, comes with hardware. Seems like it's all milled out of one chunk of aluminum. So, I mean, it's a pretty nice little tool. I mean, it's been handy so far. But now I do have to say, like this here, this nut did start to gall up on me, and I had to, before it got bad, and I like rent this nut and bolt to come with it. And it's a 10.9 metric bolt and nut. But before I rent it, I got the nut off of it before it completely galled up and ripped the threads out. And I took a tap and die, cleaned up the bolt and the nut, and then I put a bunch of ARP Ultra Torque lube on it, and it's working a lot better now. But I almost ruined the bolt that came in it, but luckily I caught myself and I backed up and punted on that one. But anyway, here's the valve spring, here's the valve. I put it here, and like these valve cups, I am just drawing blanks today. I don't know, I need to go get some rest. But these valve spring plates, caps, I don't know, nothing is sounding right. Anyway, these are actually like on bearings. These are really nice. I like these. I don't know if the new valve springs will come with these or not. I'll let you know, once we get to that point. But this is how I like to organize them all, because I got the head laying here, and like whenever I go to put it back together, like this box, I ain't gonna go nowhere. It's gonna stay right here. And then whenever I go to put it back together, I'll know exactly which valves come out of which hose, because I'm not sending the heads off to get a valve job, because there was nothing wrong with the valves. I mean, I've been inspecting all the valves as I pull them out. All the seats look, fabulous. I'm not seeing any nicks, any spots where it's not, shiny like it was sealing. At least on this head anyway. And now I can't find the hole. But, and then I'm gonna, visually inspect the seats, which, I gotta get it moved to really check them. But I'm gonna go over everything. But so far everything is looking tip top. And I mean, these are the heads off the engine that I blew up. That only has 170,000 miles on it, and I mean that's nothing for any diesel. And I mean, you can tell by how far up they're all sitting out of the seats. I mean, these still have plenty of life left on them, especially compared to our 300,000 mile engines. And me seeing how deep the valves were sitting up in the seats on those, these still have plenty of life. So, not even worried about it. And I mean, it's a turned up diesel anyway. I mean, an engine that was gonna live 300,000 miles before, which it seems from all these examples, 300,000 miles is a very realistic number out of a 7.3. But if they're around 300,000, you definitely probably should be thinking about putting bearings in the bottom end, rod bearings and main bearings. That's all I'm gonna say. If you have a 7.3 with around 300,000 miles and it's a reliable truck, running great, if you know a guy or you're just good yourself, at doing stuff, my recommendation might be it's time to just put a new set of bearings in it, to keep you moving. Because from all these cases here that I've seen, for engines that are advertised around 300,000 miles, I have no way of actually proving it. That's what all three of them were advertised as. You're getting at your bearing limit. Like these engines were, they were right there. It was time. So just want to throw that out there for everybody. Got rocks stuck to my boots. But our engine that blew up looked great, looked fantastic. The heads look great, they look fantastic. So whether I got springs or not, which I mean, I know they're good for another 150,000 miles at least. Whether I got springs or not, I mean, the heads are good. With the good cleaning, new valve seals, the heads are going to be good for, I know, another 100,000. And that's what I was saying a minute ago. This truck is now turned up. A truck that, I mean, this is an engine that we know is good for 300,000 miles, is probably only good for 150,000 now, with it all fresh. With all this stuff being new, he's probably only going to get 150,000 tops out of it now, before it at least needs new bearings. And well, it'll probably need a full head workup too, if not new heads, because, well, when it lived its life, You know, if those can live their life at 250 horse for 300,000, take the exact same engine, double the power, you can probably guesstimate that you're going to cut the life of the engine at least in half. Double the power, cut the life in half. I mean, it just makes sense in my little brain, but you know, what do I know? But either way, this head is stripped down. I'm going to get this head stripped down now. And I'm going to leave the intakes on them because I don't see no reason to take them off. I don't see no reason to break the seals of them. They ain't leaking or nothing. Ain't nothing got in them. I've been really careful to stay away from getting any. I mean, these heads have been over on the table by themselves for a reason. I've been real careful about not getting anything in them. They got this grate so nothing big can get in there. And with all the valves out, plus I'm cleaning it, anything that's in there is going to be flushed out. So, you know, we're golden. So I'm going to finish stripping this one down, which I don't like much on it now. Valves are out. I just got to get the cups out, get the plugs off of it. I'll probably leave the hook on it where I can just hook the chain to it, yank it over for washing. Now I'll do the same thing with this one. Strip it down, get the plugs out of it. Probably get this off just to get it out of the way. Then again, I might leave it on there so I can identify which head is which. But yeah, and then it'll be the same thing with this one. Get it over, we'll get it cleaned up, then everything will be presto. But that's all out. Now let's get this head laid down. And let's see if we can't get an injector cup popped out of this for the camera. Because I've never done a 7.3 injector cup. So, you know, maybe this goes smooth, maybe it don't. I don't know, we're about to find out. I said, I ain't never ever used this tool, so maybe it's gonna go really well, maybe it's not. Maybe I screwed up by Loctiting the pin in here. Maybe I didn't screw up by Loctiting that pin in here. I don't know. I just did it because, you know, I thought it was right. And I did it because this pin here kept falling out, so I just put some Loctite in it to hold it in. So like I said, we'll see if it was a tragic mistake or not. Oh, look at this big scary thing. Yeesh. All right, I'm gonna do this for the first time, at least with a hand wrench, until I get used to it. You know, I'm glad that we do 1/2-inch 12 points. I mean, because they look cool. They really do. They look tough. They make things, you know, just look a certain way, but they're really not a certain way. Oh yeah, just screw in there. I don't know how far you're supposed to take this thing. I don't know how aggressive you're supposed to get with this thing. I don't know nothing about what I'm doing right now. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it somewhere in between? I ain't got a clue. We're at least centered up, so. All right, so see, y'all are learning with me. I don't know if I'm deep enough in it. I mean, I don't know. How much pull am I actually gonna get here? I mean, I'm gonna get a little bit of pull. Maybe I should go further. I don't know. Literally learning together here. And I do have retaining compound to put the new cups in. This is one of those things, it's like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So, yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, you know, I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Very, very, very comfy mattress. You know, and I hope I can get these cups out. I mean, I got new cups, I got the retaining compound, I got everything I need, I think, but, you know. Oh, something broke loose. I don't know what it was. But, definitely broke loose. I hope it was the cup. All right, now that bottomed out. Should I just leave it bottomed out? Maybe do a little twist now. See if it just. Is that counterproductive? I don't know. Did it pull it up? I don't know. What is going on here? What's even happening? I mean, you know, we're still going down in there. So if I did pull it up some. Oh, okay, now that was a hard bottom out. That was a definite bottom out. One of these days I'll actually have proper tables to work from. Like steel tables. A little bit taller too. It's all coming. I won't have these tables that are rattling around trying to kill me. Oh. Well, woo dang, look at you. My first injector cup removal. There was probably nothing wrong with these injector cups. I mean, they actually look good. A lot of times they show you they're cracked or getting thin or something. I mean, these here look good. Now I gotta get this thing out of here. Fat chance of that. Yep, nope. Only way that's coming out is probably with the vise. All right, well, y'all have successfully learned with me how to remove injector cups on a 7-3. So now I'm going to get the rest of them out of this head. And then I will see about the valve seals. I'll check back with y'all whenever it comes to valve seal removal a time. And then you'll completely know how to tear down a head. And then I can get the other one done. And then it can be bath time. Yes! Love baths. All the injector cups come right out of this head without a hiccup. I'm impressed. I like the tool. It does its job. I mean, it's easy. You know, now that, you know, the first one had its growing pains, I was stopping, I was adjusting, I was just, pretty much you just put it in there, you go till it bottoms out, like, and you'll know when it bottoms out because it comes from a little bit of resistance to snug. I mean, she bottoms out. And once it bottoms out, you just tighten down the nut, pop it right out. I mean, you know, go over to the vise, you clamp this very little part in the vise, and then you just spin it backwards right out of it. The only thing I would say, if I was to actually do an injector cup job in frame, I would probably get, you know, a washer that's welded up, or, you know, I'd just get me a little circle piece of steel or something, you know, wad up a little piece of paper towel or cloth or something and put down in there before I threaded this in. You know, something about the size of one of the injector coppers or something of that nature, because you have an open hole here. And while all the shavings from you cutting these teeth into here are contained in the cup, they're pretty well contained in there. One thing I did notice, every one of them that I pulled up out of there, you know, the shavings from the teeth cutting in, they were hanging out of the tip. They were hanging out of the hole. Now, while this may be brass, I'm pretty sure it's brass or some brass mixture, metal combination, something or another. I'm sure it may not be able to do considerable damage to the cylinder or anything else. I don't like the idea of that stuff falling through the injector hole down into the cylinder. Like I said, the rest of it is all pretty well contained in the cup. And you know, the way that the tool makes, you pull the cup out, I mean, it pretty well holds all the shavings in the cup. But there is a chance for spillage out of the tip. You know, whether they fall out and go down into the cylinder, or if they fall out when you're pulling the cup out and then they're actually down here in the hole. Let's see here. Yep, there's one brass chunk there laying down that made it out of the hole. Wow, that was bright. There's a couple brass chunks laying there. Yep, a brass chunk fell out of that hole and one fell out of that one. See, all right, let's lift this head up real quick. Let's make sure I got all my good bits out of the way here. Almost, ooh, pocket screwdriver. All right, let's get this up. See, look at it. There's a chunk of it. That's a pretty decent little ball of it too. And then you got some bits here. And then there was a big one that might have fell back, it might have stayed in the hole and went back that way. But there was a big one that was laying out of that one, so which means now it's in the head somewhere. No, okay, it's just in the hole. It's just partying right there in the hole. Yeah, see, right there. Like I said, while that may not, I mean, you know, might be an expert out there that can tell you that all that metal composition and the blah 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 with the blah 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 and the heat and the engine will just eat it up, spit it out, dissolve it, turn it into carbon, whatever. I don't like the idea of that going down into the cylinder. I don't like the idea of that falling into the head. And you know, maybe, like I said, if you're doing it in frame, maybe it fell out of the cup as you're pulling the cup out and it just happened to fall in an oil galley, and then it makes its way back to the H-pop or something, you know, just something that should be impossible, but it does it anyway. Just say it happens. I just don't like it. So I would definitely come up with a way to contain that a little bit better. You know, a way to actually plug the bottom of the cup, which, looking at the teeth where they stop here, you could get a decent wad of paper towel or something down in the bottom of that cup and then thread that in on top of it. I might even try it on this head just as an experiment to see if it works. Now that I do know for sure that some of the filings make it past the hole, because to me that's no bueno. Not if you were doing this in frame. If you're doing this in frame, you know, just doing injectors and cups, or just doing cups, like, you know, because they go into the coolant passages, so you got bad cups and you're just doing them. To me, that's no bueno. That stuff that's falling out of there, that is no bueno to this guy. I don't like it. So I'm gonna see if I can't figure out a little workaround on that, so in the future, if I ever am doing injector cups in frame, it's not a problem. That being said, let's see what it is to get one of these valve seals off. Well, that part right there moves real easy. Dooka 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 dooka. Now I know some of them you can take a torch and just hit it real quick and then they pop off. And I do know that just some valve seals just, you know, just pop off. You know, some of them don't even hang on. So let's see what we have here. I don't even know where to start. Oh, nope, these just, okay, all right. I love that. That is simplicity. I love you, International. It's even got the base plate for the spring built into it. At least one of them anyway. Yep, no, it's the full plate for it. All right, see, I like that. Gonna get all these off, get that head tore down. I'll check back up with y'all in a little bit. Progress update. I love this little tool. It makes your life so much easier. I couldn't imagine life without this little tool. Now, that being said, all the injector cups are out. All the valves are out. All the valve seals are out. The heads are stripped, cleaned, inspected. They're beautiful. Like, there's just nothing but goodness here. Got all the oil and debris out of everything. And I mean, they're just you know, they're ready for reassembly. They check out great. They're just beautiful. I mean, just look at them. They're clean. They're beautiful. They're awesome. You know, it's me, guys. Come on, it's me. But they're good. And a quick update on my injector cup conundrum. You know how I was complaining about, you know, stuff falling out the tippy tips and getting down in the cylinder and in the head and being all like, man, I'd hate to do this in frame. That would just oofta. Well, I found a simple solution for me anyway. Hey, quit it. And you know, I've got a very small sample size, but in my sample size of 3, you know, these 3 injector cups here, I took a little piece of paper towel and I pushed it down in there and I took my wrench and I packed it down. And then I threaded it in and pulled the cups out. And out of the 3 that I did it on, it was a 100% success rate. The 3 injector cups that I put the paper towel in and packed it down, upon removing said injector cup, none of them lost any shavings, any material through the hole, like down onto our little mats here or inside the head in the cavity, nothing. So yeah, if you're doing injector cups in your truck in frame, or, you know, maybe not in frame, just you're doing injector cups and the heads are on the engine and you don't want to take the heads off, that's, you know, I said, if you ain't got a little flat washer or something, you know, a little flat plate, you know, plug to put in there to block the hole, a little piece of paper towel. That's all you need. It'll take care of you. It'll get you to where you want to be. And, you know, that's win. But yeah, I mean, like I said, outside of that, I mean, it's ready to go back together and we're ready to start going the other way with these heads. And another thing we're ready to go the other way with is the block. The block is done. Got the block cleaned up, dressed up, you know, got on her evening gown. She's ready to go out. All right. Like, she is a thing of beauty. Don't pay no attention to that little bit of oil there that, you know, decided to hide out in that hole. And then while I had it sitting there drying, it decided, okay, I'm gonna leak out of this hole now that the block is oil free and beautiful. Like I said, these 7.3s make oil. Like, seriously. If you got one laying in your yard, put a containment around it and, you know, a little roof over it so you can't get no rainwater and stuff. Put a containment underneath it and put a hose running over to a barrel. And it will fill up. Like, it will give you a consistent oil supply. You will be able to sell oil. They just make it. And they also make coolant. They never quit leaking coolant. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to be an oil tycoon, buy yourself a 7.3 and put it out in your yard. It'll just start producing oil. It's what they do. And, you know, that being said, you know, enough on that tantrum. I mean, she's just beautiful. I mean, all the lifter bores come out beautiful. Like, I just don't even know if we can get in here and fully respect it, but everything just came out beautiful. Like, lifter bores are all honed. Cylinders are all honed. I mean, it's just, she's ready to do things. But we're not doing engine assembly. We're not doing block assembly right now. Right now, our main goal is to get this cover back on here. Marissa. Right now, my main goal is I want to get these heads back together because everywhere you look, people give you different variances on the cure time that you should use for your injector cups. So I just want to get the new injector cups in the head and get the retaining compound on them, which is from everything I have found is this Loctite 620 retaining compound. This is what, I don't know, I guess just everybody uses or wants you to use whenever you put these injector cups in. So that's what we'll be using. And the best I can tell is I need to give it at minimum like 24 hours to make sure it really cures and sets up. Let's see, what is this one? So I haven't even read the bottle. I've just been reading stuff online. You know what they say about reading stuff online and believing it. Yeah, it don't even say cure time on the bottle. So yeah, like I said, it varied, like everywhere you look on the intrawebs as usual, different times. You know, everybody is of one philosophy or another. But since I got it tore down and I still have to do the complete assembly of the engine, if I do the heads first, then I know at minimum I'm gonna get at least 24 hours of cure time before I ever even like put injectors to them. So maybe 48 hours. You know, it's hard to say, you know, because I'm gonna try and be thorough when I do this part, you know, do the measurements and this and that and write it all down. So this is gonna take a little bit of time. You know, I'm not a race shop. I'm not Steve Morris, okay? Steve Morris can build, you know, a 3,000 horsepower engine in his sleep in about 24 minutes. I'm not that guy, okay? You know, it's me. You know, come on, guys, it's me. Like, we ain't rolling out stuff like that. You know, not yet. One day, I hope. Like, my dream. Anyway, so you know this part right here is going to take me a little bit of time to wrap up because, like I said, I just want to be thorough. I want to measure everything. I want to make sure it's right because, you know, I don't want to do it again. I want it to go in the truck and I want it to stay in the truck. You know, that's just what I want. You know, we're done with this one. We're ready for something else. Okay, like I am ready for something different. I've had enough 7.3s. All right, I went from a guy that knew a thing or two about a thing or two to like, dude, I don't care if I ever see another 7.3 again in my life. Okay, I need a break. I need something else. I need something different. Please, it's me. Come on, please. Anyway, so in the next video, we're going to start the head assembly because I'm pretty certain that we've done enough here today in this one. All right, we got our engine all cleaned up. It's beautiful and it's ready to start the assembly process. So if you want to see the assembly process, come back for the next video. And I don't know if it'll be a two-part. I don't know if it'll just be a head assembly video and then, you know, a short block assembly video. Like, I don't know exactly how I'm going to split it up just yet, but if you want to see the assembly, come back for future videos. But as for right now, this one's done. We're wrapped up here, you know, stick a fork in us, we're done. It's over. Finite. Kaput. I've enjoyed having y'all. It's been a great time. If you wouldn't mind, leave a like and a comment down below. You can dislike the video too. I won't hold it against you. Hit that subscribe button. You know, we're still a small channel. I'm trying to grow things. It would really help out. It's been great having y'all. I'll see you on the next one.